There are three things that are really important if you want to be able to connect with someone and create a deeper intimacy. The first is being able to feel yourself, really feel what is going on inside of myself, and also notice what are the impulses that are coming up. When am I wandering off into thoughts? The second thing is to feel the other person very closely. How are they feeling? What is going on with them? When are they wandering into their thoughts? What might they be thinking? And the third thing is to be able to communicate about what is happening between you and the other person in the present moment. But why is that so? And how can we feel more and communicate about it? Let's find out. And hey, if this is the first time that we meet, I'm Jonas, and on this channel we talk about authenticity and personal growth. We provide tools and ideas that help you gain clarity, freedom and fulfillment in your life. If you haven't yet, consider subscribing. So the more deeply I can feel myself and notice what is happening inside of me, what is shifting inside of me, what am I feeling, what are my thoughts, when am I kind of like disconnecting from my body and wandering off into my thoughts, and also what are the impulses inside of me, what are things that I would like to do or that I would not like to do with this other person in the present moment. The more I'm aware of what is happening and shifting inside of me as I'm interacting with the other person, the more I can connect and the more I can create intimacy. Because intimacy is created out of the present moment through being aware what's happening inside of me and the other person and connecting on what's happening in the present moment. The same is if I'm really feeling the other person and if I'm really noticing what is happening with them and what are they feeling and what are they thinking and when are they kind of like lost in thoughts or occupied with something else and when are they fully present with me, then there's a sense of like we're feeling each other. We're actually present with each other because we notice what's happening. And then if you're able to communicate about that, that's going to be the layer for you to connect on what's happening in the moment. Because it could be that you notice what's happening inside of you, or there are certain impulses and you don't follow up on them, or there's certain feelings but you don't share them, but the other person notices them and it kind of creates a certain dynamic, but you're not talking about it, then it can create a disconnect. Because you're aware that something's happening, but you're not naming it, so you cannot connect over it. The more deeply you can feel and also the more deeply you can communicate about what's happening in the present moment, the more you can actually connect on all these things rather than them disconnecting you. So for example, I say something to you and it triggers something and you kind of feel a little bit uncomfortable or you feel a bit sad or a bit angry or something like that. I might have shared what I shared just because I wanted to share and I really felt like it's adding to the conversation. But to you, maybe it brought up something that is difficult for you. And if I'm noticing this, then you being a little bit angry because of that or being triggered or whatever, me naming that there's something shifting in you and creating a space for that what happened to be brought up to the present moment, that's actually making us connect on that. And then you could say like, yeah, you're right, like you just said this thing and like I've actually had these and that kind of situation in the past and they said the same things and it really hurt me. And I know you might not mean it in the same way, but it just brought this up. So you can share about that. And now we have a shared space of something that came up that was shared and we're connecting over it. If this is not shared, it would make us feel disconnected. Another example could be that, for example, if I have an impulse, I would love to hug you, but I don't share it or I don't express it. Maybe I don't even really notice it, but it's kind of there. When the impulse is there, it's already in the present moment in some level. And if it's not being expressed, it will still be there. And let's say I really wanted to hug you, but I don't say it. It's going to change the way that I speak to you. It's going to change the way that I feel. And you might notice that there's something going on. But if I don't share that thing, then, you know, there might be an uncomfortable feeling happening because I feel like I would love to hug you, but I can't say it or I can't do it. And it's like it's creating some heaviness in me. And it's creating some heaviness in the relational dynamics between you and me. But then if I express that, for example, I open my arms and say, I would love to hug you right now. Would you be open for that? Then I would express it. And it's important, actually, I'm not just doing whatever. I'm like still in connection with you, checking in if you would also want to hug, but I am expressing what's there. So we can connect over it. And even if the other person says like, I'm not feeling like hugging right now, but thank you for sharing, you can also connect over that. Or also if there is something that was happening between you and this other person, maybe the last time that you've met, and this is still in the back of your head and you're still thinking about it. Maybe the person said something to you and you're like, that wasn't right that the person said it. Or maybe you wanted to say something to what the person said, but you haven't done it. if that is there, if that is in the present moment and you're not noticing it, it still will affect the present moment, and you're like, there's something off. You are on some level probably going to feel it, and the other person is going to feel it, and it's going to create a disconnect. And if I then name it and say, hey, last time there was this something that we were talking about and I wanted to add this thing to it, or this is how it made me feel, then I'm sharing what's happening in the present moment between you and me, and that's going to create that intimacy and connection. And so really what I would love to invite you to do is to really inquire, how can you be more present and feeling inside of yourself and noticing what are you feeling and what are your own impulses inside of you. And then also, the more you can feel the other person, feel what are the impulses that are coming up in them, when are they lost in their thoughts, and what might they be thinking, and how are they feeling right now in this present moment. The more you can do that, the more you create awareness of what's happening in the present moment, and through that you can connect. Because real connection and real intimacy always happens in the present moment with whatever is present in the very moment. If you have difficulty to feel yourself, I would invite you to check out my video called What is Embodiment? I will link it up here, and that's going to help you be able to feel more inside of your body and just connect more to what is happening inside of my own physical body and how can I feel what's present. And through that, you're also going to be able to feel more what's happening with the other person. Because real feeling is not noticing intellectually what's happening with the other person. So for example, if the other person is a little bit sad or maybe a little bit angry or some kind of other emotion, and you notice it because you notice facial expression changes, maybe their body posture changes and all that, you notice it, that's an intellectual understanding. But what really connects is when you can feel the emotion of the other person in a way. Doesn't mean that you take it on, that's a different thing, and it's important to not like really take all the other emotions, take it into your own body, but just noticing the feeling from the other person also on a feeling body level. Like you're feeling, you're sensing them more so than just intellectually. If you're able to do that, if you're able to sense them and feel them and sense you and feel you, you're gonna create that deeper space of connection where you really feel what's happening with them, and that's going to give them kind of like the feeling of really being seen, being heard, being listened to, being cared about, because you don't only think about them, but you feel with them. And also, the better you get at noticing when something shifts, something inside of you shifts, or something inside of the other person, the better you get at noticing that, noticing those moments, and then naming them, the more you can connect in the present moment. Because oftentimes something might happen inside of me and the other person, or I like maybe notice it on the periphery, but it's not talked about, and it's going to create some kind of question mark, some kind of disconnect, because it's like something shifts, but we haven't talked about it, but it's there and I don't know what it is, and it makes me confused. Like if I feel something shifts in you and I don't notice and I don't kind of mention it, and maybe something else shifts and I never mentioning it, then I start to get more confused about you, because I'm like, there's something happening, but I don't really understand. The same for you. If you notice stuff, something happens in me and changes in me, or maybe I'm suddenly, like you say something, I'm suddenly off in my thoughts, and you're noticing it, but you're not naming it, then like I might wander off into my thoughts and do my own thing, and they're not present with you anymore. But the more we can name those moments and name, hey, I just noticed when I said this, it felt like you were wandering off into your thoughts. I'm curious, like what is coming up inside of you? What are you now thinking? Or if I say something and I feel something shifts in you emotionally, I am really, like if I'm noticing that and I'm naming that, then that moment, instead of being it like a disconnect or like a question mark in our relating, it's going to be a point for us to connect more and understand each other more. So often today, something happens in relating with each other, but we are not naming it. And because we are not naming it, then we create a disconnect, and there's a weird feeling happening. And this is actually what can even break relationships or break friendships, because there's stuff that is always happening, but you're not naming it, and there might be anger accumulating, or there might be like, I don't know, insecurity accumulating because you don't know what's happening with the other person, but you feel that there's something happening. So the more we can name these things, the more we can actually transform the unknown into connection rather than disconnection. The same goes with impulses like hey, I would like to go, maybe I would like to go to the lake now and have a swim. Or I notice I'm a little bit tired and I feel like I want to go home soon. Or I notice there's something that I wanted to tell you for a long time, but I haven't told you, and I feel the impulse now to tell it to you. Or maybe there's a desire that's coming up with respect to you and I would like to express that desire. Or maybe there's a feeling of a boundary coming up and I would like to express this boundary. All of these things could be impulses coming up. And the better I'm able to feel them, notice them, and then communicate them in a way that is kind of like sharing, rather than like this has to happen or that has to happen, but it's just I'm noticing this impulse inside of me and I'm sharing it with you. The more you're able to connect over anything that's coming up inside of you and also inside of the other person. So I would really invite you to inquire into your own feeling and into your own ability to feel yourself and other people and communicating about it. Let me know in the comments what happens when you do that, or what happened whenever you had done this. If you liked the video and got value out of it, I would really appreciate you hitting the like button. And also, to support my channel, I would love you to subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications by pressing on a notification bell, so you'll be notified when new videos are gonna come out. And hey, there are so many other videos on this channel. I would love to invite you to check out some more of them. This one is the one where I talk about embodiment that I recommended to you. And this one is the one that YouTube suggests to you and thinks you would like. So have fun watching and have a great day. Goodbye, everyone.